Good time of the day, class. Welcome to this week's installment of Technique Time. Now, I was very happy to see that last week's installment had an average watch time of 26 seconds, which really makes me feel like what I'm doing is worthwhile. Last week, we talked about different finger patterns and where the spaces are. We also hit on extensions on cello, and we're going to move on and start talking about tuning today. As you undoubtedly noticed, tuning is super important. We do it literally every day in class. And while we can't really practice tuning because of a lack of instruments, we can start to talk about tuning. Before we talk about how to tune, let's talk about what tuning is. Hey Vsauce, Mr. Hayden here. Have you ever wondered what tuning is? Tuning is all around us. We deal with it every day, but just what is it? Let's start by talking about what sound is. Sound is just vibrations traveling through a medium, which is normally air for us, but it can travel at different speeds through different mediums. Even in air, sound is fast, but not that fast. Think about fireworks. You almost always see the fireworks burst before you hear them. This is because light travels significantly faster than sound does. But what if we change the medium? Have you ever seen a funny video of someone who sucked some helium out of a balloon? Their voice is suddenly much higher and squeaky. This is because sound travels faster through helium than through air. Since it travels faster, the pitch is higher. What about a weirder substance, though? How fast does sound travel through glass? Sound actually travels faster through glass than air, which is why a glass can break when it resonates with a pitch. We're still not any closer to answering our question. We need to delve deeper into the properties of sound. Sound has two parts, like this coin. Two sides that are different, but a part of the same thing. While this coin has heads and tails, sound has frequency and wavelength. We're still not closer to answering our question. We need to delve deeper into the properties of sound. Sound has two parts, like this coin. Two sides that are different, but a part of the same thing. While this coin has heads and tails, sound has frequency and wavelength. Frequency is what we hear as pitch. It's like the tail side of the coin. It tells you what the quarter is. This is a quarter from 2019 with a U.S. territory, the Northern Marianas Islands stamped on it. The wavelength is like the size of the coin. It tells us how much it's worth. The smaller the wavelength, the higher the pitch, and the longer the wavelength, the lower the pitch. Wait. Didn't I say that wavelength and pitch are different? Why am I describing both in terms of high and low? Well, because the frequency tells us if it's an A or an E or even a G flat. The wavelength tells us which A. Is it an open A on the bass? Or is it a third finger E string A on the violin? They're the same pitch, but have different wavelengths. That's fine and all, but what does this mean for us? It means we can begin to understand the solution to our question. What does it mean to be in tune? We know that frequency determines pitch and wavelength determines the octave, so it stands to reason that all we need to do is play the same frequency. This is what's going on when I tune you to another pitch, whether that's our favorite drone pitch or the person sitting next to you. That's great and all, but that requires having another pitch to tune to or a friend to play with, but what if you're alone, like stuck in quarantine in your home? Now we need to discuss what frequencies we consider to be in tune. Frequency is a spectrum, though. There are frequencies that we can't hear even with our human ears. Think of frequency as pedaling a bike. It's not like you just snap between pitches, that it's either an F or an F sharp. There's an infinite number of pitches between every in-tune pitch. I can pedal my bike very slowly and very quickly, but it's not either or. I can smoothly go from slow to fast. The question with pitch is, what speed is right? We've been talking a lot about science, but we need to take a look at a little bit of history. Way back before people from wildly different places could easily be put together, pitch would be whatever pitch they decided to tune to. There was no right pitch, no standard. There are some pipe organs in French cathedrals, which when they play an A, it almost sounds like an F. Once the steam engine was invented and travel was significantly easier, it was more important that tuning be standardized in Europe. A silk dealer decided to go around Europe and measure what pitches were being used where, and after he completed his survey, he decided that an A played at 440 hertz, 440 vibrations per second. But still, the snooty Europeans continued to use local variations, but in America, they quickly adopted the standard, unlike with the metric system. So that's the end of it, right? Tune using a tuner set to A440, and everything will be in tune. A piano is always in tune. For today, we'll say yes, but the real answer is no. Well, hopefully the video is long enough now that I gave you more information than you ever needed or wanted to know about tuning. Let's work on how to actually physically tune your instruments. First, how do we hear the difference in frequency or pitch? Lots of people talk about hearing beats where the frequencies aren't lining up. I tend to think of it in terms of being crunchy. Regardless, it sounds bad, and the goal is to make it sound the same as the other pitch. Your string can either be too high, which means it's too tight, or too low, which means it's too loose. But as string players, we always want to tune up into a pitch rather than tune down to a pitch. So if your string is higher than the pitch, take it out of tune, down below the pitch, and then tighten the string up into the pitch. When you're turning the peg, you need to press into the instrument. When you're turning the peg, you also need to press into the instrument. Also, don't turn that peg a lot. You only need to turn it a little bit. If the pitch is really close, use your fine tuners to make fine adjustments to the pitch. You can use a tuning drone or a tuning app on your phone to tell you if your instrument is in tune or not. In the description below, I've linked a website and a game to practice hearing pitches and to hear if they are in tune. Follow the link, and I want you to screenshot you having passed at least one level and submit that screenshot onto Google Classroom. We're going to move into the actual tutorial part of this video. Let's start by talking about tuning a violin. So my instrument is already in tune, so I had to knock it out of tune. It is currently reading at a C sharp for my D string. So I'm going to show you how I would tune that. So since I'm using a tuner, I'm going to look at it. It'll be right here on my leg while the violin's on the other. I like to have the instrument facing me like this. Pluck with my thumb. Turn the peg, grab the peg, push in and turn. Keep plucking as you're tuning, because otherwise you won't know when it's in tune. You could very easily go past it, break a string, and we don't want that. So we're almost there. So I'm going to use my fine tuner, which are these bad boys right here, and I'm going to turn it this way. If you get confused as to which way is high or low, just start turning, and if it's going the wrong way, turn the other way. And there we go. My D string is back in tune. So what if my string is too high? I just raised my pitch up a half step to D sharp. So what we're going to do, it's too high, so we're going to go down. We're now at a B, so we went way down, right? We want to tune up into that pitch, make sure we're pressing into the instrument so the peg sticks. Still at a C sharp. Now we're slightly above it. We can tune down with our fine tuners, just with the big pegs. We don't want to tune down, we want to tune up into it so the peg sticks better. And there we go, that's how we tune a violin. It'll take quite a bit of practice, be very careful. Don't break strings. I wish I could help you with this. Let's move on to another instrument. Voila, I have a cello. So it's the same thing. I've tuned my D string down just a little bit. We're at a C natural, so we're a whole step too low. I like to turn the instrument towards me. Essentially hold it backwards. It's between my legs. Pluck, reach up. Make sure you're pressing in. Getting closer, we're at a C sharp now. Alright, so we're very close. That's a D now, but it's still not in tune. So we're going to use our fine tuners down at the bottom. They're out of the picture, but they're there. Boom, in tune. Now what if we're too sharp? Same thing. Currently currently at a D sharp, so we're going to tune down and then tune back up. Ooh, I overshot it. Actually, that's super close, and we're going to tune up to that. Beautiful. Let's move on to the one last instrument that I have. Alright, last and definitely not least, we have the bass. The bass is slightly different when it comes to tuning, in that our tuning pegs are different. We have these nice gears here. We don't have the what are called friction pegs that the violin, viola, and cello do. So a lot of the problems that violin and viola have with the pitch slipping, the bass doesn't have, but we still like to follow those same rules. So I've detuned my D. We are at a B natural, and we're going to go up. We're at a C, C sharp, D, almost in tune. Now the bass doesn't have any fine tuners, but these pegs are essentially the same thing as a fine tuner. It's pretty much the same exact mechanism. Now if we're too high, at a D sharp, we're going to go down. And then up into the pitch. Just like that, that's how you tune your instrument. There's a whole lot of intricacies to tuning and different ways to tune, but now's not the time to talk about that. This is just a simple introduction. Great, make sure you do your assignment on Google Classroom, and hopefully I hear from you soon.